Coming up tonight, a man loses his life to gun violence in the Rock Crusher Road area. Plus, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force honors its top recruits at a passing out parade yesterday. And feeding Baintown is what the Mount Olive Baptist Church does. That's coming up in our Making a Difference segment. Is our News Weekend Edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. A man who was being electronically monitored is dead following a brazen daylight shooting in the Rock Crusher area. Police say the incident occurred sometime after 2 o'clock this afternoon.
From what we understand so far, a male was sitting in a rear of the residence when a black Japanese hatchback vehicle appeared, discharged firearm in his direction. He was struck about the body. As a result, he succumbed to his injuries. Also, there was a group of males sitting on the side of the house with the deceased when the hatchback pulled up and opened fire.
Police were unable to give an approximate age of the victim and were unable to say if he lives in the area. However, Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skipping says police suspect the death came as a result of retaliation.
There are different ways to resolve your conflicts. There are different ways. Find someone to talk to. Our male presence is being depleted every day. Every time a male gets shot and he dies, we've lost just another male to help our country progress. And so I want to speak to parents, grandparents again. You know who your children are. You know who their friends are. You have an idea what type of activity your children may be involved in. Let us save their lives.
And police on Grand Bahama have a homicide investigation on their hands this evening. According to reports, shortly after 4 p.m. yesterday, an adult male, while at a business establishment on Sergeant Major Road, was approached by an unknown male. A struggle ensued and the unknown male shot the man multiple times. The gunman then entered the business establishment, retrieved some items, then ran off. EMS personnel transported the victim to the Rands Memorial Hospital, where he was examined by a doctor and pronounced dead. In other news, there are among 109 new entry recruits officially joining the ranks of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force on Friday. Tonight, we speak to two of the new recruits receiving top honors following the official passing out ceremony at the Coral Harbor Base. Our Jamila Mizik was there.
Marine Seaman Jedediah Cox and Woman Marine Rachel Evans were named the top male and female of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force New Entry 59 and Woman Entry 28. Marine Seaman Cox attributing his interest in joining the force to his involvement in the Rangers program at an early age.
Ever since I was a young boy, I always was inspired by the military and seeing how militant and professional everything looked. And then I joined the Rangers program, which further encouraged me to want to join. And ever since then, I just been pushing and pushing. Rangers program definitely gets you a toe in, so you can adjust to the environment. The Rangers program is highly inspirational and inspires you to be fit for this.
Woman Marine Evans says after 16 weeks of rigorous training, she's ready to get to work.
You have a period of adjustment, and then you have straight discipline, reshaping of the mind, the rethinking of the mind. It's a lot, but it can be done.
Women Entry 28 is the largest intake of women in a mixed entry in the history of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Evans says being a part of that group is an empowering feeling.
I feel motivated to be more inspired to do more, to accomplish more, not as a recruit only, but as a woman in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, especially how the organization is male dominated. I kind of want to see all women, especially women inside my entry, to do more in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force.
And here's what Marine Seaman Cox says he's most looking forward to now that he's officially a part of the force.
I'm most looking forward to advancement. I plan to continue my career, excel, spend years on the job, and hopefully eventually become an officer on the job.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Mizik.
7 ambassadors officially commissioned recently during a ceremony at Bahama. Among those appointed were businessman Sebastian Bastian, who was appointed ambassador designate for Central America, William Wong, who was appointed ambassador designate to the Kingdom of Morocco, former NBA player Rick Fox and Olympian Chris Fireman Brown were both appointed ambassadors at large for sports. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service, Frederick Mitchell, welcoming the group to the Ministry of Foreign
Our society,
Affairs.
including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, must find a way to cut through delay, procrastination, and bureaucratic inertia. So 1 year later, the list of things to do is not complete. We have miles, as the poet says, to go before we sleep. And each of you have been specifically chosen by the Prime Minister to join the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to work, to share your skills, and I emphasize to work, to share your connections, your energy to build the Project Bahamas.
The island of Exuma continuing its steady pace of growth. Here's an insight from the island's representative who says he believes the island is well on its way to possibly becoming the nation's second city. This is exciting times for the island of Exuma, according to Area Member of Parliament and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Chester Cooper. He says since the pandemic, the island's demands continue to surpass the infrastructure.
We see this in terms of the roads, and we're now building 45 miles of road here in Exuma. We see it in terms of the airport. That work has started. It has stopped due to lack of funding. But this government is going to start that work again, and we're going to finish that airport. There are other significant needs for infrastructure that's been abandoned for the island of Exuma for many, many years. So we're now restarting all of those initiatives. The bridges and parks and ports and docks.
The parliamentarian says that if the level of growth for the island is to be maintained and supported, the proper mechanisms must be in place.
Exuma is a net positive employer for the Bahamas. We have very little unemployment in Exuma. People are moving here to find work. The challenge is housing. We don't have enough housing for the people who are here. That's driving our prices up. But the reality is there's opportunity here for locals and opportunities here for other Bahamians. But we have to work on the infrastructure. We got to get more housing, and we have to continue the speed and the pace of development that started. And I am confident that one day Exuma will be the second city of the Bahamas.
And in terms of airlift, the list is extensive.
Well, we are going to have the restart of Air Canada from Toronto. They're going to begin sometime during the month of November. Of course, Bahamas Air will continue to pick up the gap in terms of all of the Florida routes. We're hoping soon to get into discussion and negotiation with Bahamas Air to come direct from Fort Lauderdale to Georgetown. We have a lot of capacity at the moment from American Airlines. There are additional flights as needed. Some days we have 3, 4, 5 flights, American Airlines from Miami. We have American Airlines coming from Charlotte as well. They stand ready to even add more flights from Charlotte. And then, of course, we have Delta from Atlanta. That's been a positive for us for many, many years. We expect all of these routes to continue, but we have a challenge with rooms.
Cooper is calling on Bahamians to invest in boutiques, Airbnbs, and hotels in order to support the projected growth. Reporting for Our News from the island of Exuma. Still to come on Our News, the Surrey ride is back. Tourists and natives alike are set to enjoy the horse ride in the capital. And one caring pastor in Baintown feeds residents Mount Olive to the rescue. That's coming up when the weekend edition returns. Downtown Nassau is beginning to bustle once again with cruise ship visitors and tourists. But the Center of Commerce has been missing one attraction for more than 2 years: horse and carriage, or Surrey rides. The industry made a comeback, now operating from a new location east of Rawson Square. Jamila Mizik has more.
Since the 1800s, the Hackney cab, better known as the Surrey, has been a prominent fixture in the downtown Nassau district. But in March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic put a halt to the once thriving industry. Today, 25 registered drivers learning they will once again be able to operate. Surrey operator Nathaniel McKinney says he's been involved in the Hackney cab industry since he was 4 years old. He says it's a great feeling to be back.
During the pandemic, they had to be innovative by taking the horses on the beach just to make a hustle or a dollar. Also use the horse for community projects, as well as during campaigning with election for parties and so forth. So it's a good feeling for them to actually be on the road to actually make some money, to get some of the tourist dollar.
He says during the pandemic, the industry took a blow financially and he felt it in his pockets.
One horse could run you into like approximately $12,000 average, based on trailer, based on quarantine, shipping, and also for your handler to go down there and actually get the horse and then feed him during the time the horse is there in quarantine for the 60 days.
Now, as you can see, my friend here, Captain America, is happy and healthy. An issue in the past has been the upkeep of these hard-working animals. However, Minister Kobe Davis says they're working to ensure that the health and safety of these horses is top priority.
The cabinet had agreed a little stipend for the horse owners, and they have assisted with getting our horses ready, and I think they look very strong today.
McKinney is making an appeal for the respect of all those involved in the Surrey cab industry.
I'm just looking for protocol to be established in the manner that the operators do their job diligently, respect the board. So that's first and foremost. Also, the police officers, as well as road traffic, and everybody be on board on what it is that how important this indigenous industry is to the Bahamas.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks, Jamila. Definitely something I'd have to try. Food security continues to be an area of concern with global supply chain issues and a 10-figure food import bill locally. The founders of Eden Farms are setting themselves up to slash that figure with an expansion set to bring fresh food closer to where it is being consumed in the country.
Just looking at the amount of robotics, looking at the amount of data collection being used in the agricultural industry, I think is very impactful. Eden Farms was actually started in 2013. And just looking at the amount of years that it took to get to this phase, looking at some of the challenges that we've overcome, looking at the fact that we started with the containerized farming model, we've seen so many local demand. And so the future of Eden Farms, and by extension now Eden Acres, gives us an opportunity to expand that footprint.
That was Eden Farms co-founder Lincoln Deal. Our news recently got the chance to catch up with his co-founder Carlos Palacios, who explains the importance of food security for small island nations such as the Bahamas and the impact climate change can have on it.
When it comes to climate change, a lot of agriculture is driven by weather, right? Droughts, floods, storms, and that's really also what drives the price of food.
Now more than ever, Palacios says it is important to reduce what we consume instead of relying on what we are given at the end of the food chain.
When we're sort of at the end of the supply chain, we get what other countries send us, right? And so they can choose what they want to send us in any given times, right? So the scarcity, then they keep it, or they send what is the worst, or the parts that have GMOs and other types of things that aren't good for our health.
When our news comes back from the break, Mount Olive Baptist Church feeds Baintown and its A&M maintenance to the rescue. Our Generation Next segment is coming up when our news returns. body and spirit. That is the goal of the senior pastor of Mount Olive Baptist Church, Reverend C.B. Moss. Moss says that for over 30 years, his team has primarily been focusing on feeding the sick and shut-ins. But since the pandemic, the team has partnered with the Bain and Grantstown Advancement Association to expand their distribution efforts.
So we have the spiritual and we have the secular, feeding the body and the soul. And so we have been distributing 220 bags on a weekly basis. And then we have the prepared food, which we serve lunch every Wednesday. Plus, if persons come in between, they can get a bag.
Reverend Moss adds that there is a great need for food assistance among a wide cross-sector of individuals and communities.
We will meet this need as long as it exists. Until everybody is back on their feet economically, they can come here. And although this is named Bain, Grantstown, we feed everybody, no matter who you are, where you come from. We don't ask that. We just supply the need as it exists.
He says while he is grateful to all that continue to donate and support the church's initiatives, they are awaiting government assistance to make an even bigger impact.
The government has promised, but we've received no funding from the government since the pandemic started and even before. But we do our best. We thank God for our benefactors. We have a lot of small donors. We don't have any major donors, but they would come and donate and we would make it do. God multiplies.
He shares what's inside a standard package.
Rice, flour, canned goods like corned beef, sardines, tuna, prepared things, and other items. The package is designed to provide assistance to a family of 4 for 2 or 3 days.
32-year-old Andrew Bain says he's been in the maintenance and lawn care business since he was 14 years old, working for various companies. But it was in 2017 when he finally decided to follow the vision God gave to him and started his own company, A&M Maintenance.
I decided that in 2017 that I was ready to open up my own business. So, like I said, the main purpose is to take a lot of young guys off the streets, and build a foundation for my son, and try to, do better for myself. Because from I was young, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. To always say I wanted to do my own thing. And landscaping and maintenance was one of the key.
Bain says the journey of starting a business has included a few rocky roads.
Opening a business, it ain't easy. I could be honest with you. It's a lot of sacrifices. It's a lot of broke days. It's a lot of happy days. It's a lot of sad days. But, thanks to God that I have a lot of clients that support me. And I just want to give a shout out to them because I have a lot of clients, like I say, support me. And, business, but I could say now, business is rocking. Business is rocking.
But on the flip side, he says being able to call the shots has been the highlight of entrepreneurship.
I could be honest with you, I could get up on the time and I want to. So I don't have to really, I have to be on the job for a certain time. But, I could always say, well, okay, I could be on the job for 8 o'clock. Even working wise, I could take my time, And then it's good to be in charge too, where I could, probably see 1 or 2 things and I could have the last say to say, well, it's a lot of benefits and it's a lot of good opportunities for being an entrepreneur. So I could say thanks be to God for the glory for all the things that he's done for me. You can't forget God.
Another motivation for opening his business was to give young men job opportunities.
The town is crazy now. There's a lot of violence, a lot of killing and a lot of robbery. And I think one of the main problems for that is it's not enough job to employ everybody. So, that's one of the key things for me, just to try to employ a lot of guys, take them off the street, and because, it's rough. I could be honest, and it's rough, and it's serious when a young guy don't have nowhere to turn or he don't have nobody to look to, no parents or nothing like that to even say, well, he could go to get some type of money. So, You know, it's kind of rough out here.
And his advice to other aspiring entrepreneurs.
You got to be ready for the ups and downs and the sad days and the happy days. It's not running around the park like, you know, it's hard. Some days you don't make nothing. Some days you make something. It ain't easy. But I'll advise any young guy to open up their own business, because it's a good thing. You know, it's a very good thing.
Still to come, the weather report helping you to shape your outdoor plans. And opposition leader Michael Pindart encourages Buddy Hield's campers. That's coming up in our news. Weekend edition returns. The leader of the Free National Movement encouraging campers at the 7th annual Buddy Hield Camp in Grand Bahama this past week. He says one of several guest speakers the campers heard from in the last few days. Our Sasha Lightborn shares some of the advice the F&M leader shared. Here's that report.
Free National Movement leader Michael Pindart sharing some encouraging words with campers at the Buddy Hield basketball camp being held at the Jack Hayward High School in Grand Bahama. Pindart, who also serves as the MP for Marco City, spoke to campers this past week. He told them to use basketball as a catalyst for their lives, referencing Buddy Hield as a great example.
Decide that you're going to get the best out of this camp. Why is sports in general, basketball in particular, good for you? I can give you a couple of quick reasons. One, wow, you may end up where Buddy Hield is. You can imagine what it's like waking up in the morning, you don't got to worry about a bill to pay. When Buddy looks back at his camp, 5, 6, 7 years from now, he will be bragging about some of you. Imagine that. This is what basketball has done for him. So basketball can get you in shape. Thirdly, you develop good character. You learn discipline. You learn how to show up on time for things that are important in your life. You learn to play fair. In other words, you don't cheat in order to get to the finish line. You get to the finish line the right way, and other character traits. And so that's the third thing. The fourth thing is you develop relationships.
Buddy Hield, who currently plays in the NBA for the Indiana Pacers, admonished the campers to listen carefully to all the guest speakers, noting that basketball is not the end game.
Make sure you guys take something from each and every meeting today. Especially, I play basketball, but when I'm done playing basketball, something has to go. I can't just rely on all the money I make. I have to find some type of life skills I want to get into, because there's only so long I can play basketball for. And Dr. Linda always said that as she talked to me, she said, you're not going to play basketball for a long time. I know myself that's not going to play basketball for a long time. So as they speak, I'm learning too and getting knowledge from them as well, because the ball only bounces so long. You're not going to be playing basketball until you're 40, 45, 50. I hope one day you can do it, but in reality it's not going to happen.
The camp will head to New Providence next. It is expected to get underway sometime next week. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Nice and sunny with a view of rain. Here's the weather forecast to set your weekend just right. Pedrino is producing new music, working with international artists, including some of the who's who of the reggae industry. Join our Gene Joseph as he hears more from Pedrino about what he's working on and what fans can look out for.
My name is Pedrino, Bahama's very own music producer, recording artist, and engineer.
I guess welcome.
Pedrino is no stranger to the Bahamian music scene, and the artist and producer shows no signs of letting up. Working locally and abroad for some time, he continues to take his music to the world with Cherish My Loving, one of his newer reggae releases in collaboration with Cecile.
I've been producing and writing for reggae artists for some time now, but now they've all kind of like, man, you need to just go ahead and do this yourself, you know what I'm saying? So I started to record my own reggae music, and that led to me working with world-renowned producers, you know what I'm saying, and songwriters.
While Pedrino may be forever remembered for his rap career, he says he is growing, and reggae allows him to express a different side of himself.
I was writing it already, so once I started to record it, I started to have a more positive outlook for myself. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this actually makes me feel good, you know what I'm saying? The message was better.
While Pedrino is making waves in his own career, he says the future of Bahamian music is bright. Having recently worked with artists like Bahamian Trey, he's eager to work with others.
I'm gonna be searching, you know, for that next thing, but I'm definitely gonna be in the lab with Twin Them for sure. Knowing Trey, he's probably gonna hunt me down now that he knows that I'm home. I'm proud of what these kids are doing. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's a vibe. It's a vibe, man. So shout out all the young artists out here.
You can find Pedrino on social media under I Am Pedrino or on his website. For our news, arts and entertainment, I'm Gene Joseph.
Gave you my heart, you left me with nothing. You say you love me, you don't know what love is. But when I leave, it's your love I'm missing. I'm missing you too, girl. You made a promise. I never asked you for more. But lately you got me taking much less.
Thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepard. Continue to have a safe and wonderful weekend.